obviously thousands of people logging in from all over the world today. So we don't want to make sure anyone misses out. So my name is Murray Wilson, and I'm your host for today. I'm very excited to welcome you to this Silverfin webinar, where we're going to be introducing our newest product, Silverfin Assistant. So in terms of housekeeping and agenda for today, I'll start by saying the session is going to be recorded. So that doesn't mean you can leave early. It just means you've got the option of watching it twice if you want to. And we've got a co-host here today from PM&M as well, who I'll be introducing soon. So PM&M are a top 100 firm and a Silverfin customer. So we're really excited to have them along with us. We're going to talk a little bit about Silverfin as a wider business, but I think the main focus today is on the Silverfin Assistant product, which, as I say, we're really excited to launch. And Nick is going to show you that product in action. And then we have allocated a little bit of time towards the end for a Q&A. So there is, I think, a questions box in your Zoom panel. If you can ask questions as we go, we'll try and get to all of those at the end. So in terms of introductions, as I said, my name is Murray Wilson. I'm the sales director for Silverfin in the UK, and I've been working with accounting firms on digital transformation for kind of over 12 years now. So despite my youthful good looks, I'm a bit of a veteran in this space. And with me today, we've got Nick G. We call him Nick G. If you want to know why, just look at his surname. Nick's our head of product, and he's coming to us from Boston today. Say hi, Nick.
Hey, everyone. Excited to join today.
And then finally, really excited to announce that we've got Rosie Cooper joining us today. So Rosie's a director of cloud accounting at PM&M. So what I'll probably do now is pass over to you, Rosie, if you want to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about PM&M.
Hello everyone, I am Rosie. I'm the director of the cloud team at PM&M. We are based in the northwest of the UK. We have probably around 150 staff with 13 partners, your usual practice with your usual service lines, audit, payroll, tax, CF, FP, and cloud, which was formed almost 5 years ago. And we were a team of 5 originally, and now we are a team of 17. So growing quite quickly as expected with all this new technology that's available to us today. Part of the team is probably 60% your kind of day-to-day finance support, your bookkeeping, your management accounts, your forecasts, and then the other 40% is what we call project work. So looking at implementations of cloud-based software. So we've been with Silverfin now for, I think, maybe around 6 months. We've been using it properly, almost coming up to a year, I think, from kickoff. I've been helping the team develop some of the Silverfin Assistant trigger points, which has been great fun.
Fantastic. Thanks, Rosie. So we're going to start with a little bit of crowd engagement here, if people don't mind. So please do fill out this little poll. What we want to ask here is, where is your firm currently on the AI journey? So options starting from haven't really even looked at it to, we're actively going out and finding AI-powered solutions. And I think in recent events that we've been to at Silverfin, we've certainly found that there's a lot of accountancy software vendors talking about AI, but a lot of them are still working out exactly what that means to them. So it'll be interesting to see how you guys are getting on with actually doing something off the back of this. So if we could launch the results. So yeah, pretty much as expected, the vast majority of you still doing a little bit of due diligence and research, which I think is fair. And as I say, I think at Silverfin, we're pretty excited to be one of the few players out there who actually do have something quite tangible to show you in the AI space, which is what we're going to get into later. So yeah, we've talked to Rosie about PM&M. Maybe time we tell you a little bit about Silverfin. So we help accounting firms to automate and standardize their compliance processes. By compliance processes, we mean working papers, accounts production, corporation tax, those kind of bits. And then what we do is we take the data that's been processed in those jobs, and we use that data to help support the growth of advisory services as well, giving you the ability to query your clients' financial data. So as a business, Silverfin was founded in Belgium about 10 years ago, but we've been in the UK for, I'd say 4.5, 5 years now. So still a relatively new player. But in that short period of time, we have taken on sort of over 20% of the UK top 100 firms. So we've had some really good traction as one of, I think, very, very few true cloud solutions in the market. And in terms of how it works, if we look at the product set itself, we provide you with the Silverfin data hub that sits in the cloud. And that data hub can connect to most of the bookkeeping solutions that your clients might be using. So things like Xero, QuickBooks, and Sage. If they're on desktop solutions, again, we can take the data in from there. As it comes into Silverfin, we would be standardizing that data to a single chart of accounts. And then we provide you with templates to do your client work. So when we talk about standardizing, we mean providing you with templates for working papers so that everybody works in the same way. What we can then do is we can create that automation. So as one of your staff processes a working papers job, the data is flowing through to your financial statements. It's flowing through to your corporation tax return, your management accounts, all of which would be built to your standards. And then the other piece that I'll briefly mention is our Silverfin Insights piece. So I alluded to this earlier with the ability to query financial data. What you can do with Silverfin Insights, because all of your data is standardized, is you can ask questions of the data, like how many clients have I got who've breached the VAT registration threshold in the last 12 months, or how many clients have I got with R&D expenditure? So all the kind of stuff that you would probably have quite a hard time finding at the moment. But the other thing that we're doing a lot with is the AI stuff. So in a moment, we're going to pass over to Nick and we're going to look at exactly what we're doing in that space. But before we jump into that, we'll just have one more quick poll. And I think this is a really important one, is talking about the pain points. Why are we using AI? Why is AI so important? And I think these are the problems that we're trying to solve. So it'd be really interesting to see which of these challenges or which of these pain points resonates most with some of you on the session today. Last few votes there. Maybe if we launch the results now, just have a little look at what we've got off the back of that. So yeah, it looks like the predominant one is going to be people spending too much time manually checking data, which I think is a big part of the manual data entry, which we all see on a daily basis now. So I think that's a classic use of AI, is trying to reduce that amount of manual data entry. So let's have a little look at it. I'm going to pass across to Nick to talk to you specifically about Silverfin Assistant.
Thanks, Murray. Let's just jump right in. So everyone can welcome their latest member to the team, Silverfin Assistant. So this is our new, as Murray said, AI-powered tool that's going to help spot those unusual balances, missing transactions, and those outliers, kind of hitting on those results of that recent poll, that manually checking data, like that is a bread and butter of what this tool does. And some of the ways it can benefit you: it can improve that data accuracy, like I said, by helping spot those anomalies and errors. It can save you time, giving you that ever elusive peace of mind. It can help train your junior staff, on how to analyze client files, helping bridge that knowledge gap so that by the time it gets to review, you can be confident that the team has already picked that up. We know this is essential, especially with the staff shortage and crunch that everyone's been facing in the industry. And it also can just help you to identify opportunities to have better conversations with your clients, and to be more on top of their data, giving you kind of that trust, that peace of mind, and hopefully growth as well. So let's go ahead and jump in. So for those who aren't familiar with Silverfin, we've logged in. We're looking at a demo client. It's called Wired Solutions. And so just before we jump in and dive into the assistant, I thought, it would make sense to do a little bit of scene setting. So at the top, we've got this neatly summarized financial data where we've collected, this is a sync with Xero. And then you've got various workflows, which are kind of standardized to complete your things like, your annual accounts, your corporate tax, working papers, that sort of thing. And then now we have our assistant that's kind of running in the background, checking that data as you're busy preparing and doing your jobs. And when something of note is detected, you'll go ahead and get a prompt. So we'll go ahead and jump in with this first one on accruals. So here, the assistant's performing a whole range of checks, like I said, in the background, using the AI and the machine learning. In this first example, we're looking at is completeness and cutoff, which we know is vital to ensuring that the accurate financial reporting and the compliance that you're doing. So here it's looking at multiple periods to see if there are entries in the current financial year that might relate to the next financial year, and vice versa. And if any of those entries are found in the notes or in the working papers, then you'll see these in a table for you to investigate further, or in the bookkeeping software. And then if you needed, you can go ahead and add it to the reconciliation. So it's smart enough to look at that reconciliation and see whether you've actually already identified it or not. And then most importantly, we've designed this so that you're in control. So if it's not relevant, you can dismiss it. If it is, you can simply add it as a to-do. So here we're going to go and say, hey, Joe, let's add this as a point to discuss with the client in tomorrow's meeting. So this is in context as you're doing the work, which we think is super valuable. Again, running in the background, and then we put the judgment in the accountant's hand, into your hands, to decide whether it's relevant or not. As well as looking for these missing transactions, we can also help you optimize, for example, the client's tax position. So let's look at one that's probably familiar to everyone, VAT. So here we're checking the taxable turnover to see if the client is within the limits of the selected VAT scheme as defined by the HMRC. And then what the assistant will do is it'll show an outlier if the limits are within the 10%, so you can kind of get ahead of it, or if the turnover has actually been exceeded. And it's also a point that, again, you can, it'll point out if your client qualifies for other schemes as well, not just if it's breaching the threshold. We also have other things like something like an unincorporation test. So like if you have a sole trader or a partnership, the assistant will go ahead and flag up whether it might be more advantageous in terms of tax efficiency, or even like a limited liability for that sole trader or partnership to become a limited company. So in addition to some sort of optimizations, we looked at missing transactions. Next, we're going to go ahead and jump into looking for errors. So here we're looking at dividends. This check here is looking to see whether the dividends exceed the amount of retained earnings, and then if the dividends declared during the period exceed the current year profits. And if they do, the assistant provides just a gentle reminder to ensure, hey, does the company actually have enough funds to cover these dividends? This could be essential to kind of get ahead of any potential liquidity issues in the future. So giving you a little bit of flavor of what it can do with these handful of checks. Another thing that I mentioned earlier is training or coaching of junior staff, and showing them what kind of things to look out for when working on clients. So we're going to go ahead and go into the overview, where you can get a full list of all the checks that are running on the file. And here the preparer can really learn more about what the specific checks they're actually looking at and why, and also for that reviewer to see a summary of the outliers that were found. So to finish off this demo, we'll look at a few other examples here. So looking at, for example, loans or any overdrawn current accounts that might be subject to tax under Section 455. Everyone might be familiar with this more than I am. If that director owes the company money and that isn't repaid within 9 months, they could be subject to tax. So this check looks to see at that current account, and then has it been 9 months since it's been paid off? But it also can look at the retained earning balance on that client and say, maybe even if you are subject to Section 455, maybe it might be more beneficial to declare a dividend to pay down that outstanding director's current account, and then therefore hopefully avoiding that 455. Another example of checks like this is looking up to see when a file or a client might be relevant to have to pay quarterly installment payments, or for example, when a company is nearing their corporate interest restriction. And you can see here, again, we won't go through all of them, but you can kind of see that they're on the overview. It also can do simple things like check if your engagement letter has been recently updated, see if there's any missing nominal accounts, which are typically expected based on the presence of other nominal accounts. In this case, we're clicking on wages and salaries. Other things include something simple like just does an account have the right sign? And where we can get more into some of the more AI checks is it's looking for entries, amounts, outliers, and individual accounts. So it does this by setting thresholds based on the lowest and highest expected values, and then determines from other entries in the same account whether that appears to be an outlier. So again, this is all happening in the background. It flags up in context as the team's doing the work. What's also really cool is our users can actually provide feedback in real time as they're using the tool. And then we take this in, it gets flagged up, and the team will review it. Because at Silverfin, we truly believe that a good product should be useful, simple, but most importantly, it should be customer centric. We want our users to love using the tool that we've created. So over the coming months, we're going to continue to be working closely with our customers to even add more checks to make the tool even more intelligent. And that's been a pillar of what's actually what you're looking at today, as we've been working with a handful of pilot customers to even bring this to life. So we're excited to see to launch it and see usage and adoption ramp. And with that, I'm going to hand it back over to Murray and Rosie to talk a little bit more about her experience.
Thanks, Dick. I think that looks great. So yeah, it'd be good to have a bit of a chat with you now, Rosie. And I think before we get into the Silverfin Assistant stuff, which I know you were beta testing for us, I guess it'd be great to hear a little bit about how you use Silverfin more generally. So do you want to tell us about kind of why you adopted Silverfin in the first place? What were the challenges you were looking to solve, and how do you use it today?
Yeah, I call it very much our missing jigsaw piece. We'd worked so hard for years on developing an app stack that kind of was seamless for what we were giving client service for, and the compliance just became a bit of a headache. Everything was a little bit slow. We were finding that we were duplicating a lot of work. So our practice management tool is CCH, and when you're used to working with cloud-based software all day, checking in, checking out, it kind of became a little bit painful. And then you guys kind of appeared on the scene, and although it took, some time to make the decision to do it, we definitely have never looked back. We're now using it for the just in the cloud team, so just within our service department, but it really has streamlined everything. So we've generated bespoke workflows for VAT, for management accounts, for year-end packs, completely uphold how we've done things. Review process is just seamless, a lot less painful, and a lot quicker. Yeah, we had an amazing implementation specialist from Silverfin, Hannah, who kind of really helped and guided us into how we wanted to use the software, which I think was key. We kind of took our pain points, which were the usual efficiencies, recoveries, work planning, insights, where jobs are up to with different team members, and built them into our workflow so that we can use them for reporting. But yeah, we've now got this kind of end-to-end cloud-based product, which has just really kind of revolutionized how we work.
Yeah, fantastic. That's good stuff. And I think those are the examples of benefits that we'd hear from most of our customers. So you're doing things right by the sounds of it. So maybe to get into a couple of specifics then, I know like any accounting technology is going to tell you that it can save you a little bit of time. Can you think of any specific areas where Silverfin is saving time for you guys or reducing cost on jobs?
Yeah, I mean, we're kind of less than 12 months into our journey. So we've not done every year end on there yet. But what we have done is we've got the VAT compliance and the management account reports that are being done monthly or quarterly. And what we've seen is a significant time saving, kind of the second and third time that we've done it. And it's just getting kind of less and less. The review time with managers is much quicker. Things don't get stuck, bottlenecked at the top. Yeah, and the team in itself are just it's just everything's a lot quicker and easier for them to use. The team's quite young, so they're kind of always wanting to use new things, new technology. But yeah, I would say budgets kind of have been halved on majority of stuff, and I do expect that will just get quicker and quicker, especially with tools like Silverfin Assistant, which is going to help reduce those review points.
Yeah, absolutely right. And I think you're right. Like, I think probably the early stages, there is obviously a period of learning. So perhaps the first time you do a job, the time savings aren't going to be as significant as the second or third time around. But once you get into your groove, yeah, to sort of half the time of a job is quite something. So that's great to hear. And then onto Silverfin Assistant then. So how's your experience been testing that out for us? Where have you found that that's been helpful?
Yeah, I think I heard about it at Digital Accountancy Show, and I kind of said to Hannah, I want to be involved, like anything AI technology based at the minute. I'm quite interested in where that kind of is going. Um, but yeah, I think it's going to be an invaluable tool for our trainees. I think it's going to help them learn, develop quicker. As I said, for managers, it's going to help that review time, where you're not having to go back and ask them to look at something. Hopefully, you'll have flagged it already. I think, yeah, the prompts. I know someone mentioned in the chat before about making them kind of bespoke, but obviously the standardized processes, it helps with that. You standardizing your work across the practice. We've got the opportunity to spend time looking at higher level stuff with clients. So, really pushing that advisory journey, which is where most practices are wanting to head at the minute. And I think, ultimately any tool like this is going to save people time, which I would imagine most people on this call will agree with me that is the biggest challenge at the minute.
Yeah, exactly right. I think that's it. Anytime you can have something put in front of you that you would otherwise have to go and look for, like that's massive. And that's essentially what Silverfin Assistant is just flagging stuff that people might want to show an interest in. And then it's up to them whether or not they want to do something with it. So yeah, completely agree. And tell me a bit about PM&M's general views on AI. Do you have a policy around it? Did you have like a particular plan as relates to AI or adoption of it?
I think trying to embrace it as much as we possibly can. I think obviously there's you've got to consider your data security and your client confidentiality. And I think ultimately as accountants, people by people. So we're never gonna be replaced, hopefully. But I think we've got to use these tools that are being kind of given to us on a plate to help save as much time as possible, to kind of let the algorithms do what they need to do, save that time, leverage the analytical capabilities of these pieces of software, which would take someone half a day to do, is going to take computer a minute. I think you've got to, if you want to stay ahead, you're going to have to, embrace as much as you can. Obviously, considering like I say, the client confidentiality and the data security. But yeah, I mean, it's just developing every day, isn't it? So I think it's not the first thing, and it won't be the last thing that kind of gets thrown at us.
Yeah, 100% agree. And I'm sure people were panicking when Excel was released 25 years ago that we were going to lose our jobs and all that sort of stuff. And
Yeah.
I think we're okay still. So yeah, fingers crossed this is just going to make people's lives a little bit easier.
Yeah.
I think you made a good point about the security side as well. So there will be fear with a lot of people about what AI means and what it means for your own clients' data. I think a key thing to say on Silverfin is that we actually purchased an AI company, I think 3 or 4 years ago in Belgium, and that team became what was our in-house AI team. So I think for businesses like us and the way that we've structured it, you'd be absolutely fine. I think the thing to be careful about is potentially apps that are pushing things out to Chat GPT or whatever else that might be. That's maybe where we need to show a little bit of caution. And I think that kind of, and thank you, Rosie, that was some really, really useful insight. And I think that kind of leads on to the next poll question that we've got, which is around sort of people's concerns on security and where those concerns might lie on the AI side. So we'll give everyone a little moment to answer that. Any closing comments from you, Rosie, just while we're waiting for the result?
Just obviously thank you guys for letting me be involved in kind of the beta testing of it. The team are really enjoying it. The managers are really enjoying it. I think it's a fantastic tool, and I think there'll be a lot of people wanting to get their hands on it.
Yeah, I think so too. No, thank you so much for being part of the beta program. So results of that poll, I think, yeah, so data security and privacy is definitely the big one. 9% of you have no concerns at all, which is fantastic. You might want to do a little bit of reading. But, yeah, that's great to hear that there are some relaxed folks out there. Okay, well, thank you everyone for your participation in those polls. I think what we will now do is jump into a few questions, and I've seen a few pop up. as we've gone through. So perhaps if I just bring up the Q&A bar here, it looks like Nick's been answering them as we go, which is great. So is it easy to set up? I mean, that might be a good one, Nick, for you to address the group on.
Yeah, I put a response in the Q&A, but just to reiterate that no configuration is needed. It works out of the box. Now, there are certain checks that you might want to configure, but it's not necessary. So maybe we have checks that look at certain financial ratios. So if you want to set certain limits based on how you work, then that's okay. We can do that. Or there's another one that we showed in the demo of reminding you that your engagement letter needs to be renewed. Of course, if you want to change the time of when we flag that reminder, you can, but it's not, it's not necessary. It's designed to work, just being able to switch on and off.
Great. Thank you, Nick. We've had one more pop-up which relates to accounts production and corporation tax capabilities. Yes, we do have those capabilities. I think that's probably one that we would take offline and come back to you directly. So again, if we haven't managed to answer your question, don't worry, we will be in touch. I also saw one about the commercial model and the pricing around Silverfin Assistant. So for those of you that are customers, you would be familiar with our hub license, which is essentially the main license fee that you would pay for Silverfin. The way we're pricing Silverfin Assistant is that it would be 10% of your hub license fee. So I think a proportionally small percentage against what you would pay for your main license, making it a bit of a no-brainer in my opinion. Just have one last check to see if there's any other questions, but I think the rest of them are quite specific, so we'll probably go back to those people individually. So I guess all that remains is to say thank you to Rosie so much for joining us. Thank you, Nick. Great demo. And also a quick shout out to Vicky and Andy who've directed this and arranged it in the background. So great job, guys. Thanks very much.
Thanks, everyone.